I'm building this modular 3D hexagonal terrain set for my gaming table, and I'm trying to do it without painting, flocking, or 3D printing anything. In the last video, we planned out how we wanted the table to look, and we're almost ready to start cutting our elevated hills. But first, I want to go over some theory regarding how I want to make these hills so they're totally modular, and also so we understand exactly what we have to do once we get cutting in the workshop. Before we start cutting, let's talk about what we have to do. I did another video on the channel about the theory behind planning out modular hex terrain. In that video, I went over how you need to plan out all of the linear features across your table that will go horizontally. I explain all of the geometry in that video and how we use those principles to originally design terra tiles. If you want to make your own hex terrain, I recommend you watch that video for the explanation. But here, I want to talk about the plan for vertical elevation. So let's talk about the theory of making 3D modular hexagon terrain for our tabletop. So let's say this is going to be my table right here, and I want to have this shape right here. Maybe this is the hill that I want to have. This would be a very simple kind of hill to have on my terrain. So all of this out here is level 1, and then I want to bring this up to level 2. Now, of course, there's no problem with just using hexagonal shaped risers to just bring up these 7 different hexagons right here to a new level. That's no problem. It also keeps your hexagons intact and possibly for maximum modularity. But I wanted this organic shape to the edge of the hill rather than having the edge of the hill have this hexagonal shape. I want this kind of shape to the hill. So you can see, in order to do that, I have got to have the ridge line enter and exit each face right in the middle of each face, just like I was doing with any other linear features. So this is going to be level 1 right here, and this has to be brought up to level 2, and this has to be brought up to level 2. So this hexagon is the easiest one to do because it's just a hexagon that is two risers, whatever the thickness of your risers are. I like about 1 inch. So this would be 2 inches high, and then this would be 1 inch high, and this would be 2 inches high. So I have been cutting some examples out of terra tiles right here. So, for instance, this shape right here, now this hill right here is made up of all curves, but this right here is a straight piece because, for instance, let's say I wanted my hill to be over here on this side of my board. So I've got to have all of this over here be level 2 and all of this here be level 1. So here's a straight piece that might look like that, and if we've got the road that's going to be coming from this higher level area right here down to a lower level area. So I took terra tiles and I stuck my terra tiles to 1-inch pieces of foam that are the same size as my terra tiles, just like that. So then I was able to take them over to a saw and I was able to start cutting out different shapes in order to make partial hexagons that are going to become my risers. Okay, see this piece right here? This piece is an example of exactly what would be needed here in order to make this hill. See, I'm coming in, looking at it just like this. This right here is half of this face. This right here is half of this face. It doesn't matter what the hill does when it's on the tile. So as long as I come in here, I can be creative with my cut, and then I leave here. There we go. That would go right on top of, for instance, that hexagon right there. And now I've got a level 2 hexagon, or actually it's a transition piece going from level 1 up to level 2. And then you can take, for instance, this were a whole piece, there we go, just like that. And then this piece right here could go over here. If this were a whole hexagon, I'm not matching up the road here, but this is just an example. So this right here would go here. And because I've gone off of this edge with this ridge line in the middle, this piece also lines up, and this piece would also line up right here. It looks like I would want a road curve over here, but this is just an example of the ridge line. So you can see how that lines up and will look really nice as far as an organic transition from higher levels to lower levels and still remain very playable on the table. A great thing about these tiles when you're cutting hexagons like this is you basically get 2 for the price of 1. Because, for instance, this piece was cut out of that piece right there. You can see how they came together. So I made this piece, which is an edge, but don't get rid of this piece because all you've done here is make the inverse of that piece, and now I've got another great looking piece that I would be able to have. So this is a concavity here with the ridge line, and that becomes another piece. So when you're planning out what you want to do, you don't have to cut every single piece twice. So if this piece and this piece are the same, they could potentially be one piece that you cut, and you'd get this piece and this piece at the same time. Now, a lot of people, myself included, my preference would be to make my base level terrain on one hexagon, one hexagonal riser. Now, you could certainly do it with just, in this case, with a terra tile and just make the lowest level one terra tile. And in fact, I might do that on some of my boards. But my preference would be to put my basic battlefield level at 1, and that way you can actually go down into even the most base level to do something like hollowing out where a stream would go. But one of the issues that I have right now in the workshop is that in order to do that, you need to have half hexagons, hexagons of half thickness. So if I'm using 1-inch hexagon foam right here, then I need half hexagons in order to mount those where I'm going to dig into the hexagon and hollow out where that stream would be. And I'm having trouble finding half-inch hexagons like this to make it easy. I mean, you can try cutting them, but then I'm getting back to the idea of cutting them, which is what I was trying to get away from anyway, trying to make perfect hexagons when I was developing terra tiles anyway. So I'm going to, for the beginning table, I think just use the lower level as one terra tile, but in the future, once I get some half-thickness hexagons, that will be able to make something really nice as far as dropping the stream down, even at the lowest level. All right, I hope that helped demonstrate the theory that we're doing here as far as 3D hexagonal tiles. In another video, I'm going to go and try to use this theory here to build out what I hope is a really nice looking table and do it rather quickly. If you've enjoyed this video, please check out the playlist on my channel. I've got a lot of different videos on tabletop, on fantasy, on different topics. Just go to the playlists, find a topic that you're interested in, click the playlist, and enjoy some videos. I look forward to seeing you in many more videos to come.